Good morning, everyone. It is Monday, November 29th. I hope that you all had a wonderful long weekend, Thanksgiving weekend. Of course, just a long weekend if you aren't here, at least a weekend away from the markets. Friday, let's talk about Friday. I did pop my head in here, and with the news of the new variant, and I think you're going to see this on a lot of analyst shows and business news too. This was such a huge knee jerk reaction. And then the administration came out and announced some closures or travel restrictions, rather, as well. So it was a lot. The oil market sold off. It really was a huge overreaction. So keep that in mind as we go into today. But what that does do is it sets us up for not being able to have a really good watch list. All of the scans and things like that came up with the like BioNTech and Moderna. Those were the names that led on there. But there really wasn't a lot else. And this morning we are going to have a gap up on our open, which will throw a lot of those scans out of whack anyway. So what I guess what I'm saying is kind of when you go through and choose your names, of course, be really wise here. When you step back and look still at the overall uptrend, or the overall trend, we're still in an uptrend. So this is the weekly on this buying. Look at this. We just came back to the 8. On any other normal chart, we would look and be like, oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, we came back, right? We came back to the 20 back here. So overall, although that one day, light volume, right? So it made the moves much more extreme. It was light volume, a shortened day, and a lot of hype. And I'm not saying that the variants aren't serious. That's not at all what I'm saying. But the reaction overall was a very exaggerated reaction, as it really was all it was, is a knee-jerk reaction to the news and without knowing much else about it. So anyway, big red stick here below the 34, still well above the 50. It didn't even really catch that much like a volume shelf or anything, a little bit, but not very much. So this is us this morning. We're coming right back in, and we're looking to gap up off of the close, still well below where we were. But this really resets a lot of nice pricing. So how do we play these? Well, come on in and pick your names, right? Get your basket of stock, your watch list. Watch to see where the sectors where the money is flowing. That would be first, and then play off of an opening range, or wait until that first half hour or hour plays out and then play the range off of that. I know that sounds really boring, but it may just save your bacon if we decide to get a pop and then maybe a drop, and then it'll figure itself out. That first hour, right at the end of that first hour, now it's not on the dot, but really close to like that end of that first hour, really sets up a nice view for the day. And then, of course, we come back in the last hour and see how we close. All right, so here's Bitcoin. Bitcoin took the bath along with everything else, bounced that fib line right back at the 50 and pushing up a little bit. So we're seeing a little bit of recovery in Bitcoin. NASDAQ pushing back up toward the 50. This one actually stayed, again, a big red stick, but overall not quite as painful, I don't think, as the SPY. And here is the diamonds. They really took it. Don't forget, 30 names. So just one of those names goes bad, and all of a sudden the Dow can be down quite a bit on just that one name because they are weighted. Right? You see something like Apple who dropped down. I'm trying to remember what the low was. Let me just take a look. Yeah, so the low on Apple was 156, right? So it ended up closing at 156.81. So that's a pretty painful move from the close the day before being up at 162. So you see something like that, and it really takes a hit on the Dow. And of course, with all of the travel issues, right? The travel restrictions, look what Boeing had done. Although this is a nice little indication, it came in and then it fought really well all day, coming back up. And of course, leaving this big old gap. So we'll see if we get a continued move up off of that gap. Be very careful with any of the travel names though right now. There is a lot, you see certain states actually reacting very differently than the rest. We saw that in New York, they declared a state of emergency. There's travel restriction from several African countries. We don't yet know if this strain of the virus is here. It probably is. I'm just going to say that. I mean, it just makes sense, right? Viruses are incredibly resilient. So anyway, that's kind of the look here. I don't really have any big names. What I would say is watch the ones that are going to be catching the news. Moderna, BNTX, Pfizer, Johnson & Johnson, right? These are the names that can really benefit from what is happening. You can also come in and look at like Zoom, but here's the thing on this recovery here this morning that we're already working. Zoom, which had really fought its way back on Friday, ended up closing downside and is downside again today. So just be cautious of the names, the more typical stay-at-home names. Netflix, same, it really popped, right? And then now it's coming back in. It is below the close from Friday. So you've got to be really cautious on the names that you choose, and don't play the negative Nelly side of things, right? The scientists, the different vaccine makers have come out and said about 2 weeks is what they need to study whether or not the current vaccines are effective against the new variant. And remember, typically with variants, the reason that it's mutating is because it's trying to find an easier way to survive that usually makes it much less lethal in viruses. If you study virology, you would know that, right? So, I mean, we get to hear these things, but what we hear on the news is what sells the news, and that is what's going to try and scare you. So we don't want that, but watch, again, just keep a watch on recovery plays here, play off of those opening breaks. Other than that, I don't really have anything for a watch list here this morning. I will just be watching alongside of you and see where we settle out after about the first hour of trading. Next thing on the tap here real quick is we're going to, starting on December 1st, I'm going to put out a calendar of when I'm going to, or like a schedule, I guess, of when I will be on screen. So instead of having the screen up all day, which really is a tether to the desk when there's maybe not a lot going on, it will just be kind of hey, I will definitely be here around these times, but if something's exciting happening or whatever, I will definitely still be here. It just allows a lot less dead time on the screen. So I will get that up and out to everybody. And if you have any questions about that or comments, complaints, please feel free to reach out. I want to make this a great service for everyone. Meanwhile, not just leaving a screen up all day that maybe isn't so helpful. I'm also going to try and work into integrating Benzinga into a bot so that you can actually just click on it and listen to it yourself, if that's what you want. So we're trying to make it a little bit easier for everyone. All right, everyone, I hope you have an awesome day, and I hope to see you soon.